Hello, welcome to Direct Joy. My name's Cherie Joy. I am a psychotherapeutic counsellor, a psychologist, an ecotherapist, and my work is, excuse my piss count, my work is about bringing emotional and mental health therapy, making it accessible for everybody. I've worked for the NHS and for charities and across organisations, and I'm now self-employed. I work privately, and my experience is that actually we don't have enough accessible mental health support and emotional well-being support and generally support. Things fall through the net way too often, and part of why Direct Joy came about in March last year was actually to bring about some of the questions that I get asked and bring them into the light and start to shed some light onto areas that actually maybe we don't know so much about, or maybe we have some questions around and we think, oh, that's a silly question, or, is that worth going to my GP about, or more kind of, just getting a feel for actually where we're at, what the kind of questions we're asking in our communities and within our friendship groups, and just bringing and shining light onto those areas. So that's what Direct Joy is about. And like I say, my name's Cherie. So today I'm kind of, usually I discuss, but today feels like in my prep many more questions are kind of coming up for you to really ask yourself about what is going on with selfishness. Selfishness is something that comes up in my work all the time, working with men and women and young people. It's kind of, I'm feeling a bit selfish, and that feels selfish. And if I do that, is that selfish? And it's something that gets tangled and questioned a great deal. And I thought it was a really good one to do about Direct Joy because it's been coming up a lot in the last fortnight, an awful lot. That question and the links also between selfishness, feeling selfish, and low mood. And that can sometimes lead to depression as well. So that's what I want to cover today, because I think it's really important to start actually defining what is selfishness. And when we say I'm feeling selfish or am I selfish, what are we actually saying? What are those words that we're talking onto ourselves? What are we actually, what are the roots of this selfishness thing that we define and speak over ourselves? And the definition of selfishness is actually a lack of consideration, an excessive lack of consideration. Characteristics involve and qualities of a selfishness involve being unkind, manipulative, self-promoting, lacking empathy. Okay, so let's just break that down a bit. As you know, I like to go slow to go fast. The slower we go, the more it speeds us up. Lacking consideration for others, an excessive lack of consideration for others or what's going on around us. Now, what selfishness isn't is so important in this conversation because it gets missed a lot. It's not giving out. Because that is what, so this is where the tangle comes, right? So what happens is that we observe that others give out a lot and they have a great deal of empathy, and that they are potentially giving more, they are being more caring, they're being more empathic, they're more able to give out. It's not that you not doing that doesn't make you selfish, because actually the distinction here is that I'm selfish because I don't do that. Does that make you selfish? Because actually selfishness is defined as an excessive lack of consideration, not when you don't give, outward looking, caring. That's not what it is. What it is a lack of consideration, an excessiveness, being unkind, being manipulative, being self-promotive, lacking empathy. Actually, then, what we find is that what can happen is that we start lacking empathy for ourselves. We start doing the qualities, living the qualities of a selfish person towards ourselves. And that can create a real misbalance because we have an expectation of ourselves to be selfless, and we become something quite tangled in understanding. And our heart wants something, our heart wants to be selfless, but actually we focus on the wrong qualities. We focus on qualities that actually start to get tangled somewhere. And I think this is a real tangle, which is why it needs more questions rather than answers and discussion. It's actually what is going on for you if you believe that you are the selfish one. Is it that actually you're not excessively giving out as you observe others excessively giving out? What do you reckon? Because we do find that a lot of people do burn out as a result of being carers. We do find out that a lot of people burn out due to the excess of giving out and not concentrating on themselves. When we don't concentrate on ourselves, when we lack empathy for ourselves, when we lack self-care, when we lack self-love, we are in a place where actually low mood is really, really potentially quite dangerous and can turn to depression, because actually we're not doing the things that look after us first. The best way, the most appropriate way to be the best carer for everybody is to look after me first. It's very much like when you get on a plane and you have the oxygen mask and they say the parents must put the oxygen mask on first. Now, I remember the first time I heard that as a parent being like, no, I'm going to look after my child first. If I can't breathe, I can't put the mask on the child. And I know I've used that example before, but it's such a poignant one. And it really gets across the point of actually the carer needs to care for themselves first. Self-care is paramount. And ensuring that we don't disregard ourselves. Because actually we start to care for others. And when we care for others, right, that makes us feel good, yeah? But if we do that, are we doing that to make ourselves feel good? And then burning out, which isn't the aim, right? And then we can't help anyone. If we don't give to ourselves, who are we able to give to? The balance is always really, really important. And the balance is the question that I get asked all the time, is actually, how do I balance this? How do I balance my own self? And especially when we're not used to it, right? It becomes a new habit that we need to build of, and it becomes about, should I be running bubble baths, and should I be reading books, and should I, actually, what would you like to do? Self-care is different for all of us, and it can be really radical in the fact of actually, it can be like actually hearing some of those negative voices about who we are or what we're saying about ourselves, and actually standing up to ourselves and saying, maybe I'd like this to be different. Maybe I'm not so selfish. Maybe actually I am having empathy for myself and saying that I'm going to do some bits for me, some little bits. I'm going to take 20 minutes for myself. And how might that safeguard against low mood? How might that safeguard against those dips? A selfish person will do anything to achieve what they want to achieve. Okay, anything. Nothing gets in their way. We know that about selfish behaviours. Let's say selfish behaviours rather than selfish people. So it's a selfish behaviour. Nothing gets in the way. Now let's compare that and ask the question around depression, around low mood, around anxiety, around anything we might suffer from when we're feeling emotionally a bit bereft of of whoever we are. When we're feeling that, would we do anything for that to change? Yes, right? Excuse me. Can we? Sit with this, right? Recall a time where you have felt really low in mood. You would have done anything. But actually it doesn't work like that, does it? It's not like being selfish where you do anything, you get your way done, but Bob's your uncle. It doesn't work like that. You can't just go, right, today I'm going to pull my socks up and off we go. I'm going to brush my teeth and I'm going to feel better. It doesn't work like that, right? It's a much slower process. It's a much more heart-led process. It's a much more, what feels good for me? What is the next step? What is the one foot in front of the other today? And that's very different from the selfish person. So is depression a selfish illness? Is low mood selfish? No. No, no, no. Bringing much more empathy to what we expect when someone turns around and says, I'm feeling really low. I'm feeling depressed. I've been diagnosed with depression. I'd like to reach out to a therapist. I'm on the waiting list for Mind in Health. Whatever it might be, I'm having a low day. Hearing that person, understanding that this is not selfishness is really key to what we offer each other, what we have in society, what we have as services, and ensuring that that message gets through at every which way. Because that's where the lack of consideration comes in. We don't consider this to be actually what it is. We consider it selfish to want empathy from others. Whereas we give it out, we would never speak to others the way that we speak to ourselves. And that's what then becomes radical, is actually changing the way that we talk to ourselves, changing the decisions. And that's not easy, right? That's why people like me exist. That's why therapy works. And that's also why self-care works, because actually we start to be able to say, I'm going to take that 20 minutes to myself. I'm going to take that 10 minutes to myself. I'm going to take that 20 seconds to myself when I'm boiling the kettle. Because everybody's situation is different and everybody has different, requirements on them and responsibilities. So it's about allowing yourself what you can allow yourself, to go to bed 10 minutes, half an hour earlier, to be able to write in your journal, to be able to reflect on actually where really are you. I must find the quote, but there is a famous thinker, a philosopher, who says if we gave ourselves 30 minutes a day, if every person on the planet gave themselves 30 minutes a day to think about themselves, war would be avoided. War? That would create peace. I'll invite that. What would that be like, to have more peace by inviting 30 minutes of reflecting on who you are, where you're at, how you feel, and asking the question rather than putting and placing these expectations and these ideas. And actually, if you say, I feel selfish, Google it. Yeah? Selfishness is an excessive lack of consideration. I know I'm repeating myself a million times, but an excessive lack of consideration. Is that really you? Is that really a sign of depression? Not in my understanding of the amount of depression I've experienced and I see and I feel. No, not at all. And having that grace with ourselves of actually saying, hey up, no, I'm going to call myself into question on that. I'm going to start asking the harder questions about what's going on. What are the roots of this stuff that actually I feel like I can't turn around and do that I can't ask that of others, or I can't, allow that space for me. It's really hard. And that's one of the main things around direct joy, is actually bringing into question some of the things that we automatically assume, because there's the parity of esteem that actually we prioritize in society, our physical health. Of course we do. We need our bodies are really important, but my practice emphasizes the holistic understanding of mental and physical health, because it's all of us. It's all of us. It affects all of us. Pains in our body, pains in our head, pains in our stomach. All of this can be emotionally based and physically based. And where do the lines get drawn? How does this stuff become physical or mental? It's not. It's all in together. We're all in together. It's all of who we are, our whole soul being, and the experiences that make up all of who we are. I find myself going into further depth and further depth on direct joy, which is why I've come up with it's a bit like Patreon, if you know Patreon. It's more of a membership package, which is called Wise and Joy, which is pretty much nearly ready to launch. So it's kind of still coming soon. But basically, it's an extension to Direct Joy, and every month you will get access to much more of this kind of stuff, but in a much deeper way, in a way that actually will equip you with some tools to practically move forward in some of these areas. So watch out for that, because I'm working really hard on bringing that to you. It's called Wise and Joy. So it's this is the direct stuff. So this is coming straight into your screen. This is the video that says, this is the stuff, this is what we need to get a grip on, and this is the stuff that's coming up immediately in society and into my inbox, and this is the urgency of what we need to, or what I'm hearing that is important to be discussing around our mental and emotional health. Wise and Joy is about, okay, so what do we want to do about it? How do we want to approach it? And it's not therapy. Therapy is a one-to-one space, or other people work in groups, but I work one-to-one. It's a one-to-one space where we kind of really go deep and think about unconscious processes and behaviours and relationships, and all of the depths of what therapy is one-to-one. But Wise and Joy will be a different offering. So a bridge between Direct Joy and my one-to-one tailored work. So look out for that. I'm still running women's circles in Bexhill. So if you're in the local area in East Sussex, please join me and you're a woman or identify as a woman, please join me for those. And they're twice a month in Old Town Bexhill. What else have we got? Direct Joy next week. It was on a Tuesday, but my diary has changed a little, so it's now coming to you once a week, hopefully. So if you can't catch them live, it's always around lunchtime. It will be on, there'll be replays on Instagram, YouTube, my website, and here on Facebook. So tune in for those. If you have any questions, if you have any feedback, if you'd like to know more, please get in touch, right? And it's not chargeable. I want to talk about this stuff. This is why I'm here. This is why I show up. This is my life's work, and this is what I enjoy doing. This is what I love to talk about. I love to geek out on it. I love to read about it. If you disagree with any of it, if you have any questions, any exploration, any discussion, just get in touch. Let's make this stuff that we talk about all the time, and let's create those communities as if we were living in tents all together. That's my kind of, that's where I'm at. That's who I am, and that's what I offer. So I hope that if anything that you took from this Direct Joy, what selfishness isn't, what selfishness is, and how we can safeguard against that and against the low mood and the depression. Because there is a distinction between the low mood and depression. Check out previous Direct Joys. And the balance. What self-care can you take to balance that out? Okay, so wishing you so much love, so much peace, and so much joy. Any ideas for next year's? No, we're not going into next year. For next week's Direct Joy, let me know, and I look forward to seeing you all really soon. Take care.